Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very beautiful morning to you, our viewers, our XT viewers, tuning into the Global Morning live on Global TV. And of course, a pleasure marking another day, Thursday. What a very beautiful day. Looking at 21st day of the month of November 2024. Still counting the days towards at the end of the year. A lot of expectations, a lot of experience, a whole lot of the back and forth, the disappointment, and all of these achievements, successes we've recorded for the year is still very much counting. And for the better thing is that the life we've actually enjoyed, is what we are so much grateful for. On the program this morning, my name is Edikat Michael. I'm not just going to be doing this show alone this morning. I have a co-host with us. Good morning.
Queen. My name is Queen Agaba. Your name is Shaw Edikat Michael, not just on the program, but even after the program.
And I'm very absolutely. I have to resound that again. Good morning.
Good morning, Edikat Michael. You look like today's your wedding.
Yeah, you on red. I don't know if today is a Valentine, another day for Valentine schedule for Queen Agaba alone.
Valentine in November, well, maybe.
Just I said schedule for you alone, maybe. All right, good morning, and of course, a lot of our development catching to the fact that President Tinubu at the G20, I'm going to bring that video to our viewers to watch what the president was speaking at the G20 meeting at Brazil. He was making case for Nigeria, recalling the fact that Africa and Nigeria have a whole lot of, when you look at population, when you look at poverty, when you look at the fact that we are still struggling with health situations, hunger in the country. The president was just making a case that there is a need for the world to also extend hands to Africa, not just Africa, but for Nigeria. When you look at the fact that climate change is fast eroding some of our environment and also causing a threat to us in the national development and even our security. And that was what the president was really speaking. Subsequently on the program this morning, I'm going to bring the speech of the president, a soundbite from the president's speech in respect to the G20 at Brazil. A lot of concern about what governments are doing right at the grassroots. And also yesterday, developments that the Ondo governor-elect received the certificate of return, while the PDP are heading to the courts and challenging the result. To challenge the result at the tribunal, there are a lot of reaction towards that perspective. What about state governors? What seems to be happening within the state? We'll also drive our attention to that on the program this morning. Of course, you just have to sit tight so that we can get more of these stories, reactions, and development in the nation.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely bringing you the headlines of the papers where we're going to be talking on topical issues and our expert guest who would help us dive into these conversations and help us make better sense of some of these big stories. So you want to stick around and enjoy the program as we take you all along. Well, now we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll look at the front pages of the papers for you. Please stay with us.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Well, many thanks for staying with us. It's time for us to bring the front pages of the papers for you, of our national dailies. And this morning we're beginning with this day. Big story here says, ACF, Tinubu's policies insensitive. They've worsened Arewa people's poor conditions. Now let's look at the riders. Rider says, advises president to review reforms, give it human face, and also insists North's interests best served by Northerners. Dismisses leadership selection process as flawed. Worries about basing politics on personalities and not issues. So over time and time again, we've seen the Arewa people complain about the policies and how it's affecting their particularly security. And a couple of months back, we had the Northern People's Forum, I think so, one of the platforms for the North, lament about, the hardship, not just for the North alone, for Nigeria, but particularly in the North, the hardship and how much, how much it has affected them in the North and how much Nigerians can no longer afford basic things like food, shelter, and security, particularly security, and that, the policy should be what they are advocating for right here now is that President Tinubu's policies should, have a human face, as some of these policies do not reflect present-day realities of Nigerians, and so it may come as insensitive, as they've put it here. They say Tinubu's policy is insensitive, and they've made a whole lot of other comments as the people of Arewa, their plight has been worsened. They become more poorer, and their conditions have worsened, and they're asking for a human face to some of these policies and a review of these policies. Now let's look at above the nameplate of this day newspaper. We have right here, new FPSO targets 100,000 barrels per day. Outputs, Lukobiri Lords NNPC for driving oil growth. And then the writer here says, NNPC's Otapet crude grade hits global market with 5 cargoes exported to Spain and the United States. Well, you find this story on page 5 of this day newspaper. Interesting conversations about our output of crude oil daily. You should look at it at page 5 of this day newspaper. And then we have, just underneath that story, we have Peter Obi, Nigeria can feed herself with massive investment in agriculture. That story is on page 9. But talking about agriculture, Peter Obi is not the first person that has come out to say that, Nigeria is blessed with, a whole lot of agricultural produce. Nigeria is blessed with, great farmlands, resources, natural resources, mineral resources, good people, culture, food, climate. Like, we don't have anything bothering us, like other climate where you have cases of, certain natural disasters that, hinders productivity somehow and in a certain period of time. But Nigeria, we've been blessed. There are no hindrances somehow, except, there are exceptions about leadership, people say come off as insensitive. We have insensitive leaders and all of that, that these are only hindrances and some policies that they think are not favorable to farmers and, Nigerians in general. So a lot of output. I want to believe, you can look up that story on page 3 of this day newspaper, that Nigeria is blessed with, we can feed ourselves from our agricultural output, and we don't necessarily have to have the hike in food prices that we have right here. For a country that is blessed with so much land mass, so much fertile soil, and hardworking people, we shouldn't have this much food insufficiency as we have it now. You can read up that story, like I said. Now let's look at FAC disburses 1.41 trillion naira October revenue as Federation account grosses 2.668 trillion naira. Well, what other stories do we have? We have Chinese embassy pays courtesy visits to Senate leadership, and we have a picture right there depicting that. We also have right here, Jimoh Ibrahim $2 billion insignificant. Nigeria needs to borrow over $50 billion. Well, that story is on 37. I know the questions on the minds of a lot of Nigerians now is this money that we borrow here and there in trillions and in billions of dollars, where do this money go to? What is it used for? These are the questions, and I'm sure that these questions are also in your mind, Michael.
Absolutely, because when you look at the fact that we are borrowing every time, but there are questions about where are we investing some of this borrowing? Are we just borrowing to share? Are we borrowing to increase allocation to states? Are we borrowing because we have many needs in the country? But the attention is the fact that yes, in economics, in business, in accounting, that you borrow to invest in things that will be productive, infrastructural development, enhancing the capacity of production of your country, so that at the end of the day, within the time range, you are able to pay back, or you are able to also see how you can also be able to, fight the debt services. So it looks like many times Nigeria are borrowing, but, the attentions and always concern is about where are we channeling this money to? Where are we investing it to? The loopholes, I had a guess yesterday was extracting the fact that, borrowing is not wrong, but we have to seal all the holes that money gets to be out of the government covers illegally through corruption, multiplications and prices and all of that. So basically, people just get to take advantage of government, even when they know that we're already having a whole lot to deal with. So yes, to the other end, just as the senator have argued, that borrowing is not wrong, but the questions again and again is, have we stopped corruption? Have we managed, issues of procurement, budget, people trying to infiltrate the prices of budget, are concerned about the loopholes on how some of this money and intentions of government is being defeated. So government must understand that these are the issues, because every year and every time we look at our debt services, how much are we able to, pay back the expectations about how we can begin to pay back. Banks, IMF, the World Bank and all of these international donors will always, give us a loan. But in a way, we should also see how we can help ourselves, by channeling some of these investments to some infrastructural development. By that way, it can become productive.
Absolutely. Well, that's all of the stories we have on the front page of this day newspaper. Let's look at The Guardian for you now, which Michael Edikan will bring to us.
Right, let's get to the front page of The Guardian. A lot of concern surrounding the PDP crisis, and that's the reason why the big story coming from The Guardian still project PDP backs Damagum. That's the acting chairman as LP mobilizes youth for 2027 showdown. Now, Naira plunge stalls federal government. States in capital projects spikes cost by 75%. That you can find on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Senate sacks CCT chairman Dunlabi Umaru. This calls action strengthening economic stability, reps declare. It's good. I mean, when you look at the fact that I was saying these distributors, are they trying to take advantage of Nigeria? Every time the metering adjusted, people are not really getting the value for what they are paying. The increase in tariff so much, and every day it looks that there is an increase in the tariff, every day and then. So now, this is what the government are saying, that they're threatening economic stability, because at the moment where if you got, this unit, and some of these units that you probably what you use for let's say maybe 10,000 naira can no longer sustain again for sort of number of days based on the capacity of what you're using it for. How do we begin to encourage entrepreneurship in the country? Because many of these businesses need power for sustainability, needs power for stability, and it's good that House of Reps have also spoken that if these discos are not well monitored, these distributors are not well monitored, it might be a problem. Sometimes we may have power, sometimes Ministry of Power may be doing a fantastic job, the TCM may be doing a fantastic job in transmission, but let's pay attention to the distributors, because it looks that one way or the other, people are being taken advantage for, they're paying so much, and it's also affecting the economic stability in the country. And that's why the House of Reps have also raised the eyebrow, this concern, calling on the attention of government towards this cause. The 11 trillion economy drive critical to banishing poverty, says Amzat. That the deputy governor of Lagos State reacted to the $1 trillion economy drive right in Lagos. Bills on diaspora voting, mineral exploration funding, scale second reading. Bills on diaspora voting, respect to how Nigerians in diaspora can also be participating in an election that's passed through the second reading, and that of the mineral exploration funding, which is coming from the National Assembly in respect to our elections. Let's just pay attention a bit to that bill. When you look at the fact that people in diaspora said we are Nigerians, even when we look at the fact that we're here for purposes, we're here for schools and all of that, we still have to participate in electing leaders of the country. And those are arguing, no, you're not in the country, probably we may not be able to control the number of diasporas we have. How do we begin to do that? Do we begin to deploy technology into our elections? How efficient is it within the country? And now that we're trying to extend hands to the diaspora. So that's so many argument tools, some of these sides. And I just feel the most concern, right there is how our elections can get better every day. We're looking at the fact that up to now we're still looking at the ballot snatching, threatening, toggling in elections, the vote buying that is really on the increase because of the economic situations in the country. So these are the issues we should pay attention to. Necessarily having to have a bill that diaspora must vote. It's not just about the problem. It's not really an issue. Let's begin to fight within the Nigeria. Have we had better voting system? Now that we want to extend hands, to incorporate other Nigerians to be voting in the election within the country, do people really feel satisfied at the end of the exercise? Yes, this was good. I think I'm trying. I think I'm making effort. But is this effort really what we have to be talking about in 21st century? Looking at the investment towards conduct of elections, these are questions many Nigerians are paying attention. Are really raising that there is a need to improve an election.
Yeah, absolutely. While I think that it is a fantastic idea that people in the diaspora should be able to vote, they're Nigerians after all. The clause should be that, they are Nigerians. They are Nigerians that are eligible to vote, even if they're in the diaspora. But they're Nigerians who happen to be in the know of everything happening in the country and are better informed. You know why I think that we... where we are today is the fact that those who are enlightened are not with us. Those who we think are better enlightened, because these people have gone to saner clients, they've seen better, they've been in, they've participated in what it means or looks like to be in to have active government, to have a system that works, healthcare, infrastructure, education, everything all round. And so they know better. And if we have more people in the diaspora vote, I'm sure their choices of candidates would reflect where they're coming from. And even Nigerians here. But the problem now is, and the clause now here is, that have we, like you rightly put it, have we finished working on where we are, our elections here in Nigeria? Are we even now talking about beavers and IRS and all of that? How effective are these, these deployments? And then, have we tackled the issue of vote buying? Have we tackled the issue of thuggery, insecurity during elections, voter apathy here in Nigeria? Nigerians here in Nigeria cannot even vote. So you don't even expect, a system that does not allow for free, fair elections yet to, allow people in the diaspora vote, because definitely their choice of candidates and, and all of that would reflect where it is they're coming from. So I think while it is important that people in diaspora vote, while I think that is a good idea, I also think that we should fix the electoral system here in Nigeria, first of all, and then we should be able to bank on how digitalized we are when it comes to elections. Beavers, IRFs, let's talk technology. How technologically inclined are we, and how ready are we for technology in our elections?
Absolutely, because when you look at INEC will tell you we are evolving, we are learning lessons in each of the elections. But the question many Nigerians will ask is, what lessons are we really learning? When you look at the fact that up to 2024, elections sometimes are not really to the satisfaction of every party. We have a lot of litigations already now on the elections that have just been conducted. You look at the PDP candidate is saying, I'm going to the tribunal, I'm going to the tribunal. Yes, he's going to challenge the election, but there are a lot of considerations and factors that drive all of these litigations. And that's the reason why we need an improved system that might get elections, working and really to the satisfaction of everyone. Yes, I don't know. We cannot really satisfy the concern of everyone. It looks at when this other party wins today, they said democracy is in danger. When the other party wins, the democracy is not in danger. We also understand that factors, but let's do more of transparency so that people at the end of the day can see, oh, this is really worth it. But let's turn attention towards another critical issues right here. NNPC exporting 4.7 million barrels of the new crude to Spain and US. That's a recent development coming from NNPC in respect to the new crude. Whatever it means to export to Spain and how to export to US. Those are still having questions. Are we doing better? Our refinery is working. What is happening to Port Harcourt refinery? What is happening to Warri refinery? What is happening to Kaduna refinery? NNPC, you've been postponing many dates, of some of these resumption from the refinery. We are yet to get our refineries working. Dangote refinery, our pound production, things and fuel still on the high side. These are just the basic, concern of Nigerians, not really on our export. Yes, we might have the capacity to export some of our crude, but let's get to see how we can address the domestic needs of many Nigerians, which has to do with fuel. We can't really have to say for how long Nigerians can continue to buy fuel at 1,200 and 1,300 naira. There's no how this will not still affect inflation, Queen. There's no how this will not affect the livelihood of the people. And that's the reason we are saying, it looks that we can't battle this out without crashing the price of fuel. And this has to do with what NNPC are doing.
Absolutely.
A lot of that. So let's get to see what NNPC may have in stock for Nigerians in respect to crude and fuel and importation to the country. And very lastly, we have FX differential revenue accounts for 21% of 2.67 trillion naira at the FAC revenue. That's coming from some development in respect to FAC. And the last but not least, here from the Guardian newspaper, MD Khan seeks review of consultant retirement age to 70, unified salary scale. That's some of the big story on the front page of the Guardian this morning. I feel all the more details right there on the paper, which you can get the paper to have more details about it. What are you, Queen?
Well, now let's look at Daily Trust. It's our next point of call this morning, the Daily Trust. Big story here says reps asked Discos to raise investments to 500 billion naira or exit. Rather says they are a threat to economic stability and welfare of Nigerians. Liabilities, low capacity fuel call for recapitalization, I beg your pardon, and the lawmakers should demand accountability from electricity coils, according to experts, and Discos is mum. All of these concerns that have been raised, like you raised also from the other papers, Discos are not saying anything, and Discos are a threat. The House of Reps has, come out to say that the Discos, particularly because of the distribution process and how unaccountable these Discos have been in the past few couple of months, they threat the economic stability and the welfare of Nigerians. Actually true, because Nigerians are lamenting. They're lamenting because they're asking, what are the parameters for this distribution? And being a band A, band B, band C, the whole thing is confusing because your usage is not equivalent to how much you pay, and people don't get to see this power as often as they should, or the fees are exorbitant and it does not reflect actually what they get, and all of that. And so while the light may be constant in certain areas and all that, the fees, their pocket, the Nigerians are paying 3 times how much they're usually supposed to pay because of we cannot categorically tell the the parameters or tell why it is being distributed the way it is distributed, and DISCOs are not saying anything. And also, it's also it's taking a toll on businesses as well. Businesses, small scale businesses, large scale businesses, like the economy of Nigeria in general, because everybody uses power. Every person who is in Nigeria doing business one way or the other uses power, and so it's taking a toll on them, and they cannot account for their returns or the profits. Or most of it, a bigger chunk of it goes to electricity, and we're asking for accountability and we're asking for better distribution, and DISCO is keeping mum about the whole issue. And so right here we have the House of Reps asking DISCOs to raise investment to 500 billion naira or exit. Now let's look at HCF to Tinubu, your economic policies impoverishing Nigerians, like we see in other papers as well. The HCF have come out to say that President Bola Tinubu's policies are not friendly and doesn't have a human face, and they're asking for improved policies right here, and asking President Bola Tinubu to do better and put a human face to some of these policies, as they do not reflect present realities or present day Nigeria. Terrorists using girls as suicide bombers and sex slaves. Now this is very sad, but you find this story on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. The terrorists are using girls as suicide bombers and sex slaves. It's very disheartening. I expect that by now we must have gone past the phase of having to, have minors become suicide bombers or are working as sex slaves. These people are hijacked against their own will. They are held hostage, held captive by these, terrorists. Federal government earmarks 112 billion naira to safeguard schools in 3 years. And then we have 209 died from Jigawa tanker explosion. Panel. Michael, do you have this story? You find the story on page 3 of the Daily Trust, where we have that 209 people died from Jigawa tanker explosion. Okay, that must be the Jigawa explosion that happened
this one is a
few weeks ago.
Okay, the confirmation of the number
the numbers of people that died a few weeks ago. And I think more education
the last time it wasn't confirmed.
Yeah, the actual number wasn't confirmed. More education needs to be done. Enlightenment needs to be done. But the other time where we had this conversation, I remember raising questions as to talking about not just poverty. We can attribute it to poverty and say economic hardship, and people are all out and they are desperate to get fuel, sell, or just to cushion the effect of the hardship. But way before now, we know that even before the economy became what it is today, we've had cases as far back as the 90s where we had tanker explosions or a fallen tanker, and people were rushing there, even with the cautions, to go and scoop fuel. And you know what? A little spark here and there, and then, these people are burnt to ashes, roasted alive, burnt alive, And so it's not just, I think it's greed at this point in time. It's greed and foolishness and desperation. That a falling tanker like that is, that can be dangerous, and would endanger the lives and properties of people in that vicinity. The best thing to do at that point in time was to have stayed clear. And we were even informed that some security personnel were at the site trying to dissuade these people from, scooping fuel. But I think they were fighting, or they were, retaliating. Attacking. They basically attacked these security personnel, and so they had no option than to let these people. When you attack in such mass, you have to. So more education needs to be done, and then people need to be educated that a little spark. I'm not sure they know how dangerous that action, these actions of theirs, will be. And so, incidentally and sadly, they're not. Unfortunately, most especially, they're not alive to take these lessons. But I want to believe that people would learn. It's a sad experience, such a sad thing to have happened. An entire community like that, having 209 people die as a result of the negligence, carelessness, and the greed of these people. Properties, lives were also lost. Well, it's just been confirmed now that 209 people died from that explosion. We pray that there's never a repeat of this again. And then lastly, on the Daily Trust newspaper, okay, 3 more stories right here. We have Senate asks Tinubu to replace Umar as CCT chair over misconduct. And we have federal government sacks Unizik Council vice chancellor and registrar. We will find that story on page 3 of the Daily Trust newspaper. I particularly want to look into what must have transpired for such actions to be taken. Several injured at secondary school students clash in Kwara State. They say several injured at secondary school students clash in Kwara State. When I was growing up in secondary school, Mike, it would interest you to know that we had cases where, because my school was surrounded with schools that were public schools, public secondary schools. And so we had incidences of when 2 schools would collide or clash, 2 secondary schools would clash. And it made me understand that our schools are a prototype of what happens, secondary schools particularly, what happens is a prototype of what happens, a prototype basically of the universities, because in school, in that, you similarly secondary school, we see, the kinds of clashes, fights. We see students, secondary school students with cutlasses, with jazz, doing all manner of things on the road, and people have no other option than to stay clear. And so when I saw this story right here on Daily Trust, where secondary school students clash in Kwara State with several other people injured, it just goes to tell you that, some of these things that we see in the university, cultism and all of these things, it didn't start from the university. Some of these bad eggs from secondary school will now go to universities and continue to, breed and, make disciples of what they are and what they've become. And I think that if there's any reform that needs to be done, it has to be done right from primary school. We had cases of children who are in cults from primary school, as alarming as it can be, particularly our public secondary schools, public universities. You hardly hear of these stories. They happen, but you hardly hear of things like this in private universities, because why? It's well regulated, it's well monitored, and it's perceived to have increased level of discipline. And so I think that much energy needs to be put in our public secondary schools, public primary schools, and public universities as well. Particularly, they say catch them young with primary and secondary school. A lot of focus and a lot of discipline needs to be channeled towards this area, so that we do not have these people graduate into the university and become menace, and ultimately become menace to the society. Well, these are the stories we have on the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's look at the Punch for you, which Michael Edikan will bring to you.
Now, very fantastic headlines this morning, but for the Punch, a big story coming from the Punch this morning. Tinubu set to name envoys as ministry post consular officers. Now the consular officers deployed to embassies in Spain, Malaysia, Brazil, others concern rise over state of countries' missions abroad. All right, that's really confirmation of the recent diplomatic move by the president. Recall that some of these countries, we didn't have ambassadors, and now the president is set to make some of the appointments in respect to some of the countries like Malaysia, Spain, Brazil, and others. Other story from the Punch: bank chiefs lobby presidency over $1 trillion forex gain. Troops hunt terrorists behind Borno soldiers killing. You can find out on page 18 of the Punch. PDP governors, NWC, that's the National Working Committee, meet in Jos, brainstorm on NEC meeting. Discourse lists conditions for 500 billion naira NAS recapitalization plan. And that's on page 27, coming from the Punch this morning. Ayedatiwa gets certificate court to decide PDP suit against deputy. That's still in reaction to Ondo elections. All is not really certain, and a lot of a concern about some of the allegations raised by the People's Democratic Party. On the program this morning, we'll be making further discussion on that. Court orders police to employ 22,000 constables. Now, US-based Nigerian jailed 6 years for $6 million bribery scam. US-based Nigerian jailed 6 years for the $6 billion bribery scam. I mean, it's always about, a bad image to the country and a concern about, I once had a concern about people's character. Those that says, fine, it doesn't mean even in Lagos, you happens to be in the US, probably you're still the same. So let's get to always watch what we do, because stories like this get to put Nigeria, our image
in a
very bad light. So there's a much concern about our people out there. And our misconduct. NBA backs Senate over sacking of the CCT chair. That is the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Danley Omar. That level, a lot of allegations were raised against the chairman of the Code of Tribunal, which Senate, using their power by the Constitution, have sacked him in recommendation. And now the NBA, that is the Nigerian Bar Associations, are backing the Senate due to this misconduct by the chairman of CCT. Now, they're in very bid to react towards the bank's chiefs lobbying the presidency over the 1 trillion forex gain. Right there, a confirmation of also bringing in the CBN is also raised on the paper this morning. That's the very few stories we have from the Punch this morning, concerned about how the presidency will make those appointments of envoy, deploying them to some of these countries and embassies for our foreign, and inter-relations of our country, international relations of our country. I recall I said I will bring in a soundbite from our president's meeting with the G20 as we look at the program. There are a lot of concern about how we can begin to position Nigeria in the international community for foreign direct investment, for partnership, for collaboration in the country. All of that is what really Nigeria would look for. And also, just as we are making some bearing that are concerned towards Obasanjo's regime, what did Obasanjo did? He had to also beg, for some of the forgiveness of our loans, of our debt. And now that we are making some of this borrowing again, it's accumulative, and then they're concerned about how we can pay back. Yes, we might not toe the line of Obasanjo, or Tinubu might not toe the line of Obasanjo for begging for some of the forgiveness, but there's also a way we can borrow to invest, rightly in our infrastructural development, so as to get Nigeria working, which is a much concern of everyone. And that's the reason why no one says it's bad to borrow, but let's get to channel it in the right source. Let's go to The Nation, which is on the last paper this morning, Queen.
Yes, and on our final point of call this morning, we have The Nation newspaper. It's our last point of call. Big story here says, halt Lukarawa's invasion now. Senate challenges military. Rider says, step up fight against terrorists. Acting Chief of Army Staff orders soldiers. And we have Jimo cautions Obasanjo over inciting remarks. Ayedatiwa Delami gets COR. And we have above the nameplate alleged $35 million fraud. Wabote in EFCC custody. Passports seized. And we have NICOM orders insurance firms to clear outstanding claims next month. Osun APC yet to zone 2026 governorship ticket. Minimum wage, it's 75,000 naira in Osun and 70,000 naira in Bauchi. What other stories do we have? Not leaders to blame for region's woes, says ACF, like we see in other papers. And then we have lastly, Redeemer Vastis breaks new ground in cancer, other diseases treatment. These are the stories we have on The Nation, but I want us to look again at some of the stories and make remarks, particularly the groundbreaking by Redeemers University, where they have, we have here Redeemers University breaks new ground in cancer and other disease treatment. There was an analysis, if I'm not mistaken, that happened some time ago, few months ago, where some of these universities, private universities, were ranked top universities in Nigeria. And if you look at that ranking, you'd find out that most from the first, I think the first to fifth rankings were private universities that were ranked, and this again goes to the number of work, the hard work, and the tenacity, dedication that we have in private universities from the lecturers. And, it's not just academically, that it's also the conduct that matters. The conduct, also the environment as well. Some of these, I don't think it's purely academics or the number of lecturers or lecture time that make up these rankings, but other things like the environment, like I just rightly put out now, the certification, qualifications of the lecturers, and also the discipline, the amount of discipline and equipment. Talk about equipment in these universities, in their laboratories, the down to the students as well, and all of that. These are what makes up the rankings. And so we had private universities top up the chart over and over again, as far back as even 5 years where we had these rankings. And I think in one of the years where we had the rankings, one of the universities that I think came close was the University of Nigeria, that came close. So I want to believe that because of these criteria that make up these rankings, these universities were able to top up the chart. And I believe that our federal universities and state universities can do better. Yes, we can do better. We can top up the chart because we have the resources. But here, what the cases we have in federal universities and state universities is that the sometimes inhumane treatments that students face and get from most of their lecturers, and nobody check and balances these things. A few instances, because every Nigerian, if you go on social media now, you hear most of Nigerians or most of people who have been a part of private government secondary school and state secondary school come out to tell their stories. It is similar. They come out because nobody is negating it. They come out and you see similar stories. They were either harassed by lecturers, they had to pay exorbitant fees for textbooks and all of that. And it's a repeat, it's a circle, because you see somebody telling you about, I remember when a young lady came out on social media. Well, thank God for social media now. When a young lady came out on social media, she talked about how the nonchalance that happens in universities, particularly government-owned universities, and how, a supposed secretary did not do her job, and that cost her, her grades that year in university, because this secretary that was supposed to be looking for files or something like that, something related, was nonchalant about it and didn't care. And that actually gave her, I think, a carryover or so in an extra year in university. And she came out on social media to talk about it. And that was the only way. And if you look at the comments, it's really appalling. And you'd cry for people who have passed through. It's traumatic. And you cry for people who have struggled, because most of the people who even get to be in these universities, sometimes they fund themselves. There are people who pay their school fees themselves. There are students who school and work at the same time. They don't have the luxury or the privilege of having sponsors, put them. And that's why they're in universities like that. And then you look at the comment section and you're seeing that everybody has a similar experience. And now it's 2024. People who are schooled as far back as the early 20s are talking about their experiences, talking about the lecturers, talking about, in a particular comment, you see somebody make mention of a particular lecturer, and 4 or 5 persons are talking about the same lecturer, or 10 people or even more are still talking about this lecturer. Nobody has put that lecturer in place. So it's a circle, it's a repeated circle. You see that, this thing happened in early 2000s. I see the people talking about this man and about how this person harassed them and about the ill treatment they got in universities. And till today it's happening. Nothing happens. So it's a circle. It's traumatic, and I don't think that in 2024 that we're in, anybody deserves to go through, that level of pain as a result of wanting to get education. And, and sometimes you see some students make compromises, and you're wondering, why. I don't want to overflog this, but what I'm saying is, these are the metrics.
And also, it's also about using an scapegoat, to also set as an example, because it looks that all of these matters has really been treated with low effort of either government agencies or those responsible, those have the responsibility in addressing this concern. We've seen even at the University of Calabar, there. The last one, allegations of the dean of the faculty of the law, which is no one have heard about anything again. You know, even when we had hundreds of those students coming from the faculty trying to give testimony to some. So the abnormalities in our schools is that no one has really been put to place, you know, so that other people can learn. Because one thing about Nigeria is that if people do not get to know that the weight of their offense is so strong, they might sometimes just feel, you know, it's normal, and they try to normalize it in the society, which is affecting, just as we said, a lot of concern. But in a bid to wrap up on the nations, I saw the Senate challenging the military. I mean, asking the military to halt the Lakaroa's invasion, the new terrorist group. There is a lot of tension already in the northeast of this country, a concern about how the military can begin to tackle this concern. We had an expert who was speaking, I mean, earlier on Big Talk, who expressed a concern about, you know, what it means, you know, to address these concerns, because if terrorism are having their way very easily in the northeast, it's also endangering Nigeria's security. It's also looking at the fact that all of the concerns we are looking at from the north may not be fast addressed. So the security agencies, I mean, the soldiers, Chief of Army, the new Chief of Army staff have tackled them. There's a need to address all of this concerns, just as the Senate have asked him to address and see how they can stop the invasion of this terrorist group into not just the northern part of the country, but to Nigeria at large. Well, we'll wrap it up here for the newspaper session, and we'll get to the catch up with the news, AM news here on the morning show. And once we return from the AM news, we'll look at the People's Democratic Party. The state chairman met yesterday in support of Damagood, but there are a lot of party grievances and all of this concern. After the AM news, we'll be looking at that concern before going to Ondo to look at what it means for the allegations raised by the PDP candidate heading to the tribunal, just as Ayeditiwa received the certificate of return. Stay with us on the program. We'll be right back.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the Global Air News, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nigecomsat. President Bola Tinubu has dissolved the governing council of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Anambra State, and removed its newly appointed Vice Chancellor, Professor Bernard Odo, and Registrar Rosemary Nwokike. The presidency announced this in a statement signed by Tinubu's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononika. He also approved the removal of Ohieku Salami as Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otukpo, in Benue State. In what has been described as a testament to progressive governance, Imo State has joined the ranks of 4 other states in Nigeria rewarded by the World Bank under the State Action on Business Enabling Reforms Program. The recognition comes under the State Action on Business Enabling Reforms Program, which assesses states on their efforts to improve the Ease of Doing Business Index. From Imo State, here is our correspondent Amarachi Ibe's story.
The State Commissioner for Information, Public Orientation and Strategy, Declan Emelumba, during a press briefing in Owerri, the state capital, says the state received $4 million, an equivalent of 6.8 billion naira, for its impressive performance in promoting good governance, transparency and accountability. Emelumba noted that the World Bank assessed states based on 4 critical criteria: efficiency of land administration, regulatory framework for private investment in fiber optic infrastructure, performance of investment promotion agency, and transparency of government to business services.
This is a clear testament to the government's commitment to progressive governance, economic empowerment, and sustainable development. This equally and clearly vindicates the governor as a man who has been focused in his administration and enabling seamless land registration and boosting land-based investments.
He further stated that the success story was due to Governor Hope Uzodinma administration's doggedness in implementing focused reforms to enhance land registration, boost investor confidence, and create a seamless business environment.
The World Bank has rewarded Imo State government with a whooping sum of $4 million, almost 7 billion naira, for good governance, engendering good governance and accountability in the ease of doing business.
The recognition of Imo State by the World Bank signals its emergence as a hub for investment and economic opportunities, citing an example for other states across Nigeria. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah had, during one of the Boko Haram attacks in Borno State, made a donation of 50 million naira into his account and asked him not to make it public. Shettima spoke during a valedictory session organized by the Senate to honor the late senator who died on July 20, 2024 at the age of 52. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, announced that a day had been set aside to honor life and drawing the attention of senators to their departed colleagues' seats adorned with the Nigerian flag and 4 symbolic candles as a mark of respect. The Senate has removed the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Dalade Umar, over alleged gross misconduct. This decision was made pursuant to Section 157, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, which empowers the Senate to remove key public officials following due process. The sacking following a closed-door session lasting over 1.5 hours. Upon resumption of plenary, the Senate announced that more than 84 lawmakers supported the decision. 4 days after Ondo State governorship election, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has presented certificates of return to Ondo State Governor-elect Lucky Aiyedatiwa and his deputy Adelami Olaide. Our correspondent Edike Michael has the report.
At a brief ceremony at the INEC headquarters in Abuja, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, commends the people of Ondo for peaceful conduct during the election. The INEC chairman, who was represented by Professor Kunle Ajayi, supervising National Commission of Ondo Elections, urges the governor-elect and the deputy to uphold the democratic principles by delivering good governance.
And this symbolizes the official acknowledgement of the mandate conferred by the good people of Ondo State on the 16th November 2024. It is also a reminder of the trust that has been placed in you as the governor-elect and the deputy governor-elect to uphold democratic ideas and work tirelessly to deliver good governance.
In his response, the governor-elect lauded the effort of the security agencies in their efforts to promoting peace and assured all people residents in Ondo State to run a people-centric governance.
I also like to thank the security agencies. I commend their effort for their professionalism all through the election. They provided security for both lives and properties and materials, and the election have been adjudged as one of the most peaceful elections in Nigeria.
Aiyedatiwa of APC defeated Abola Ajayi of the People's Democratic Party and 15 other candidates. He won across all 18 local government areas of the state, polling 366,781 votes against Ajayi's 117,845 votes. The governor also has promised dividends of democracy to the people of Ondo on the occasion of his certificate of return, reiterating his commitment to give back to the society by some infrastructure development on these 4 years. Edike Michael from the INEC headquarters of Abuja, reporting for Global TV News.
Following the annulment of his presidency, Musiliu Akinsoye, popularly called MC Oluomo, has assumed office as the national president of the National Union of Road Transport Workers. This marks the first time Akinsoye has publicly announced assuming office since the appellate court's decision to reaffirm Ibikunle Barawa as the legitimate union president. Akinsoye, who was elected unopposed during an election at the union zonal secretariat in Oshogbo in Osun State, had his presidency nullified by a 3-member appellate panel. The panel, comprising Justices Hama Barka, Namdi Dingba and Asmawa Kombi, upheld the National Industrial Court's earlier ruling of 11th March, which recognized Barawa as duly elected president. The Deputy Governor of Edo State, Dennis Idahosa, has claimed that the senator representing Edo North, Adams Oshomole, opposed the nomination of his son, Cyril, as Commissioner of Health in the state. This comes after Governor Monday Okpebolo had sworn in Cyril as a member of his cabinet, tasking him with improving the sector. Idahosa stated that Cyril's impressive credentials make him more than qualified for the role. The deputy governor also noted that Cyril's relationship to Senator Oshomole should not disqualify him from holding a position he is competent to manage. Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has called for sustained effort towards achieving gender equality in the country. The First Lady, while speaking at the 2024 Gender Conference held at the University of Lagos, says gender equality is essential to achieving a peaceful, equitable society and sustainable development. She also emphasized the significance of justice, equity, and empowerment in advancing society. Zamfara State Commissioner of Police Mohammed Dalijan has disclosed that a 58-year-old Algerian national has been detained for alleged transborder arms trafficking. Dalijan, speaking in the state capital Gusau, says the police recovered 16 AK-47 rifles during various raids within the last 3 weeks. He stated that the command also recovered 1 double barrel and 1 locally made pistol from a suspected arm manufacturer based in Jos Plateau State. The commissioner also revealed that the police also detained some illegal gold miners and recovered several mining excavators, and state government ban on illegal mining was still in force. Abia State Homeland Security has launched a statewide campaign on the government's tripod emergency system through a work show in Umuahia, the capital. Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Homeland Security, Fire and Medical Emergencies, Chukwu Nenye Alajimba, noted the need for the system, insisting that the system integrates security, medical and fire services designed to enhance life-saving emergencies across the state. He also says ambulances have been strategically stationed in Umuahia, Aba and Ohafia for emergencies, and patrol vans will be sent to rural communities for emergency calls. The main edition of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund's National Research Fair and exhibition holding at the Eagle Square in Abuja has brought together innovators from around the country, showcasing different inventions. The exhibition is aimed at bridging the gap between research, innovation, and the market. Ramsey Enoch Agbo, who has been following the event, now reports.
Right here, we are live at the Eagle Square in Abuja, where the maiden edition of the National Research and Exhibition Fair is happening.
This is multi-air cyclone system for kaolin beneficiation. Kaolin is a solid mineral abundant in almost every state in this country. But it is very useful in the production of paints. It is used in the production of rubber, used in production of rubber making, in plastic and in ceramic materials.
This machine here is called movable Bambara nut shelling and cleaning machine. It's a sheller. And this project came as a result of the wastages we encountered. Most farmers produce this Bambara nut, but because of the tediousness of the processing, sometimes it ended up wasted.
What we have here is our products, innovations from Delta State in terms of Washuku. What we are seeing here now is what we call DSPG Smart Campus. It's actually a model, and it tends to solve problems of security on campus, revenue generation, power solutions.
Our vehicles are e-vehicles. They run on lithium batteries and they are rechargeable. This one can be charged either directly with electricity or you can charge it with the solar panel that it is carrying.
These are people from different universities, individuals that have come up with different ideas. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global Television.
Acting Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede has ordered an immediate investigation into an alleged brutality by a certain officer and soldiers of the Nigerian Army. This was contained in a statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Major General Onyema Nwachukwu in Abuja, stating that a viral audio-visual recording circulating on social media platforms purportedly showed a senior Army officer and two other soldiers in an altercation with a man and woman within the Abuja metropolis. Nwachukwu says the circumstances leading to the incident are not clear at the moment, but the Acting Chief of Army Staff has ordered an immediate investigation to unravel the true circumstances surrounding the altercation. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has alerted the public to the circulation of substandard and unregistered sugar products in Nigerian markets. It stated that the low-quality sugar, primarily smuggled from Brazil, poses significant health risks to consumers and undermines the integrity of the country's local sugar industry. The Commission's Director of Corporate Affairs, Ondaje Ijagu, stated that investigations uncovered several sugar brands, including Grupo Moreno, Terus, USIS, Alvian, and Arapora, which failed to meet required health and safety standards. Ijagu says such illegally important brands do not meet the mandatory vitamin A fortification requirements set by Nigerian authorities, potentially putting consumers at risk of blindness and other health complications. You're welcome to the Global AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When the AM News returns, Ugandan opposition figure taken to military court after Kenyan expulsion. Details of this as well as business and sports stories coming right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of the AM News. In business, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has called on the Ondo State government to form a partnership with the Federal Ministry of Mines and Solid Minerals to harness the mineral resources in the state for economic development. The Commission's Chief Executive Officer, Gbenga Komolafe, stated this in his keynote address delivered at the Ondo State Political and Development Summit held in Igbokoda, the headquarters of Ilaje local government area of the state. The Commission noted that the state's contribution significantly to Nigeria's wealth of natural resources with an array of minerals such as oil and gas, bitumen, quartz, sand, clay, talc, granite, limestone, kaolin, coal, columbite, tin, feldspar, gemstones, gypsum, and others was not in doubt. Managing Director of the Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund, Aminu Umar Sadiq, says the agency has invested about $2.833 billion towards the attainment of key Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) in the country since its establishment about 12 years ago. Umar Sadiq stated this when the House Committee on Finance paid an oversight visit to the agency. He further disclosed that the agency ranks among the best sovereign wealth funds globally, ranking joint first with New Zealand in 2023, Spain and Ireland with 96% each in the ranking. The House of Representatives has charged its Committee on Insurance and Actuarial Matters to conduct a forensic investigation into over 30 billion naira in unsettled insurance claims tied to the Nigeria Police Force, the Head of Service, and the Ministry of Defense. The House noted that the unsettled claims were a result of failures in actuarial valuation, gap analysis, and non-compliance with Section 57 of the Insurance Act 2023 and Section 4, Subsection 5 of the Pension Reform Act 2014, among others. The resolution of the House was a sequel to the adoption of a motion titled Breaches and Other Infractions of Some Federal Government Institutions on Insurance and Actuarial Matters, using forensic auditors, moved by the member representing Gumi Bukuyum Federal Constituency of Zamfara State, Mr. Sulaiman Gumi. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says it has commenced sales of its latest crude oil grade, the Utapate crude oil blend, to international refiners 6 months after it began exploration. It says the development is a major boost for Nigeria's crude oil production, revenue generation, and economic growth efforts. A statement signed by the Chief Corporate Communications Officer of the company, Olufemi Shoneye, stated that the new product was unveiled before a packed audit of European crude oil markets at the ongoing Argos European Crude Conference taking place in London, England. On the foreign scene, prominent Ugandan opposition figure Kizza Besigye has appeared before a military court in the capital Kampala, where he has denied charges that include the illegal possession of firearms and negotiating to buy arms abroad. His appearance comes after his wife says he was kidnapped in neighboring Kenya last Saturday and sent back home, where he was being held in a military jail. In a post on X, Winnie Bayanyima wrote that her 68-year-old husband had been seized in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, during a book launch event as she demanded the Ugandan government free him. Besigye was told during the military court hearing held amid heavy security that he would remain in custody until 2nd December. Ukraine says Russia is staging what it calls a psychological attack in spreading messages of a large attack on Kyiv and other cities. It comes as the United States Embassy in Kyiv is temporarily closed after it received information of an alleged potential significant air attack on 20th November. Italy and Greece have also closed their embassies in Ukraine's capital, while the United Kingdom's embassy remains open. The Foreign Office says the Spanish embassy closed for several hours but is now open. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has picked former World Wrestling Entertainment WWE Chief Executive Officer and his transition co-chair Linda McMahon as his nominee for Education Secretary. A longtime Trump ally, McMahon led the Small Business Administration during Trump's first presidency and donated millions of dollars to his presidential campaign. Trump earlier chose Mehmet Oz, a celebrity doctor and former TV host whose approaches have come under scrutiny to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. South Africa has assumed the presidency of G20, becoming the first African nation to lead the influential bloc of the world's largest economies. The handover ceremony took place during the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva officially transferred leadership to South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who pledged to prioritize Africa's development and the Global South's interests during his tenure. In sports, the Nigeria Sambo Association has entered into a strategic partnership with the Saudi Sambo Committee under the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Sports to advance martial arts in both countries. This collaboration was initiated by the Saudi government, impressed by Nigeria's remarkable achievements in Sambo over the past 10 months, which has established Nigeria as a formidable force in Africa. Nigeria's debut in international Sambo was at the 2023 African Games in Ghana, where Sambo was featured as a demonstration sport. The four-man Nigerian team won 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze medal. Super Eagles Ademola Lookman has been shortlisted for Serie A Forward of the Year category at the prestigious Grand Gala del Calcio Awards. This follows the Nigerian forward's outstanding performance for Atlanta. The 27-year-old Lookman will face challenge from Inter Milan duo Lautaro Martins and Marcos Thuram, as well as AC Milan's Rafael Leao for the award. His nomination comes after a remarkable season that saw him emerge as Europe's most productive attacking player in the later stages of the 2023 and 2024 campaign, registering 14 goal contributions. Well, that's it on the Global AM News, and it came to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nigecomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. The Global Morning continues with myself and Idike Michael. Please stay tuned.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
As the crisis in People's Democratic Party deepens, a lot of concern about the leadership of the party. And just yesterday, it looks that some state chairman of the party met in respect to Damagun, the acting chairman of the party, as you really sparking a move. The division, the crisis of the major opposition party has become the concern of many Nigerians. Joining us this morning to give us some of the latest developments in respect to the leadership of the party is Honorable Andrew. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Very quickly, it looks that quarters of the party are backing Damagun as the chairman of the party, but we have earlier been told and informed that North Central or to be in the position after IU of Benue State was suspended from the party. Give us a later development. Is that the confirmation so far?
Thank you so much. Good morning once again. Thank you for having me. You have to understand the fact that, look, I always tell people, People's Democratic Party is one party that you cannot, I don't use the word unpredictable, but it's a party that understands the dynamics of politics. I understand how it's being played effectively well. The truth remains, when are you?
Mr. Andrew, are you still with us? We can hear you very clearly. Let's get ahead, please.
Coming to the seat as an acting chairman of the party, of course, organs of the party have to work very well. Now, yesterday, the various state chairmen came to Abuja for an interactive meeting, which they usually do. So their coming to Abuja is not because of endorsement of the Damagun, anything has to do with the Damagun. No, it's their usual practice. They do that. And most, we just finished our congresses. So, and a lot of new state chairmen are made. So there is a need for all the state chairmen to come together to come and meet themselves, familiarize themselves, and of course, get to know each other better. That was what happened yesterday. So It had nothing to do with the Magui, it had nothing to do with the NEC. Of course, there is agitation from different quarters that possibly the Magui should go or should stay, or North Central should produce their candidate. Where the party in its wisdom know what to do when the time comes, you know. But as it stands right now, the party administrative system is running effectively with the way it should be. When the time comes for NEC, they will call for NEC, and when it's time for them to do for convention, we'll go for convention. So there's no issue in the party, there's no crisis anywhere. Of course, there must be grievances from different quarters, but that is not stopping the effective administrative running of the party. The party is going nowhere the way it should be. Everything is moving effectively. There's governor, yesterday, the state chairman had their meeting. Tomorrow, there's governor's forum meeting. Afterward, there's going to be caucus. You know, it's just the way it is. Efficiency, effectiveness. NAACP had their meeting yesterday. So where's the problem coming from? Everything is going on as planned. So it's just speculations and usual normal paparazzi that happens among political parties that is happening. Of course, PDP being a formidable party is strong enough to withstand any storm, which we have always withstand. And you have to know that all these processes are the things that lead to 2027, we are preparing for. So 2027 is the end target. We have a lot of off-cycle election that APC is robbing us of. APC plan is to make Nigeria a one-party system. And PDP, being a viable opposition, is there to ensure that that doesn't happen. Because every Nigeria is looking forward to PDP, looking up to PDP. We're the last hope of the common man. We're the last hope of the average of the poor masses. So definitely we are preparing ourselves to see how we can take over the hands of this country, to rescue this country from the penny damage that is spying at our faces. So if there is anything distraction, we are not interested. Of course, distraction will come, which we cannot take away. But it's not taking the fact that we are ready, we are prepared to take over the hands of our affairs from this present APC that is destroying our hard-earned democracy. So it's no issue at all. It's just a normal, usual practice.
One of the former spokesperson to Atiku has accused the president of accusing the president of being the primary cause of the party's crisis by appointing the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, into his cabinet. He is insisting for the PDP crisis to be resolved, Tinubu should let go of Wike back to the PDP. Does it mean that Wike working for Nigeria and for the federal government as a way of also creating more internal crisis in the party?
No, you cannot create internal crisis. PDP is bigger than Wike. PDP is a party on its own. PDP is bigger than every individual. PDP, for PDP to be bigger than Obasanjo himself, he one time turn our PDP membership card. But today PDP is still standing. There are a lot of storms that have, that have engrossed the party even before now, and the party is scared through those storms. So we can be the minister of FCC has nothing to do with any crisis in PDP or any misunderstanding in the party. Of course, if Tinubu felt that Wike is useful and Wike has to be patriotic to the country, irrespective of a political affiliation. If there is a need for someone to be appointed for the interest of the country because the person has what to offer, you offer yourself for the service of the country. And it's not stopping you from being a member of the party. Wike is not a member of APC. Wike is not serving APC as far as we are concerned. Wike is still a member of PDP, has not resigned from PDP. He is useful. Tinubu felt that Wike have a lot of things to offer the country, and he pleaded with Wike to please come and help him salvage the country and serve his social capacity, which I think Wike is doing effectively well. Today, FCT, everybody is talking about the efficiency of Wike in FCT. You can't dispute the fact that Wike is not contributing his quota to the development of Nigeria. You can see it is very obvious to the blind. So that aspect is there that you can't take away. And Tinubu in itself cannot even influence what will happen in PDP. It's not possible because PDP is bigger than Tinubu. PDP is one organic party that have a structure that other political parties, even across Sub-Saharan Africa, envy. Irrespective of the crisis storm that blew the party, we still find a way to skate through it. We have a strong internal resolution mechanism, and we put those things in practice, and they are working for us effectively well. So Wike, every other person that people might think they are the cause of the crisis in PDP, I don't think any one single individual can create crisis in the People's Democratic Party, because People's Democratic Party is bigger than every single individual. So Tinubu, he just
Governor Wike, are those that are also concerning that it looks that there are growing factions within the party, those supporting former Vice President Atiku and that of Wike, which you've spoken about, that those that are insisting that it looks that Atiku Abubakar is still insisting on recontesting again for 2027. And if he's still insisting on that, he's the one really causing the crisis within the party. Do you share with the thought of those who are making those assertions?
Of course, you can't dispute the fact that you can't stop Atiku from contesting. Atiku might want to contest. He has the right to contest. We can have the right to contest. Every person has the right to contest. But I did not share from the belief that because of their various loyalty of their various fashions, that there will be issues. Of course, Atiku will have his own followers, his own structure. We can have his own followers, his own structure. Every other person can have their own followers, their own structure. This is the beauty of political democracy and practices among political parties. And it's a beauty of what we call party politics, where every individual, of course, if you don't even have structure, you'll not be valued in politics. Why people like us have relevance today is because we have what to offer. It's because we are substance. The truth remains, somebody like me, any political party I go to, I will add value to it. So political party will be willing to welcome me. As I'm in PDP, I'm a big asset to PDP. PDP itself, even at the state level, at the national, will not want to lose me. Same thing goes to the likes of Wike, the likes of Atiku, the likes of every other person that have what to offer. Up to the ability to a political party, they will not, we don't, I said the number, the abilities are not what makes you relevant in a political party. It is what you have to offer. The substance, the value, your contribution that will make the party move. Well, that's what you have to offer. And these are the things that these various people have. So we can't throw them away. I think we have a unity. We can have its uniqueness. Of course, every other party, key figure in the party have that uniqueness, and they have their interest to protect. You have to understand that politics is about interest. Everybody that have what to offer have an interest to protest. Their interest comes first before any other thing. Of course, they need an umbrella to make that interest become a reality. This, which is what is playing now. So it is that their interest that they are trying to protect, which you cannot fault them for protecting their interest, because that interest is the value and the substance that makes them relevant. These are the testimonials that they have to sell that will make them relevant. So because of the interest they have to protect, you won't fight them if they do anything possible to protect that interest. But they should do the protecting of the interest and ensure it doesn't affect the political party that they need the umbrella to ride them. Because the party comes forth before their interest. Because there's no political party, their interest is of no relevance, it's of no use. So the whole essence of all these factionalizations, quarrel, and the rest of them is that I want my ideas to come first. I want my interest to supersede the interest of the other person. So at the end of the day, what that matters is, irrespective of your interest, do everything possible to put the interest aside and fight for the common good of the party to ensure that the vision of the party, vision of our forefather, becomes a reality. After which you cannot go back to your fight. But whenever there is a battle to be fought, let everybody come under one umbrella and fight that battle together. These are the things we want every individual to understand. That is the only way we can forge a way forward. That is the only way we can actually salvage this country and ensure that the lost hope of the common man is being revived again. So everybody is welcome to the fold.
A lot of concern, which we're looking at the party. Your party have lost out in the Ondo election. Your party have recently lost out from Ondo election. There are those that are having a concern that this crisis is putting your party, into a very big troubled waters. How do you feel your party can come out stronger again? Because 2027, you are having the projection that your party is trying to come out stronger. Losing some of this state to APC. What is the fate of PDP? What is the strength of PDP?
Thank you so much. Why I have that belief that PDP will come out stronger in 2027? Of course, Edo election, you know that it was a national disaster to INEC. And we are happy, Nigerians are happy that INEC have boldly come out to acknowledge the fact that, look, Edo election have disgraced them, have messed their image up, have destroyed their integrity. And this was as a result of selfish individual that they gave opportunity to become an INEC, to become a resident electoral commissioner. Now, the REC commissioner in Edo State by now should even be in jail if we were in an ideal, responsible country. By now, Mahmoud Yakubu should be in jail if Nigeria was a responsible country. But of course, it's still a responsible country. It has to be patriotic to the green, white, green flag. But even at that, Edo mandate will be retrieved, of course, because it's obvious to the blind that this election was wholly manipulated. And INEC in itself will need to redeem its image with what happened in Edo State. Although it's still there, they display the same template. They are the dollar man, the APC national chairman. He said that they are going to replicate the same
Andrew, can you hear
template they used. Yeah,
the argument is that your party is losing out of popularity. That has nothing to do with those probably if you have dissatisfaction about the result of the election, it looks that your party, because of the crisis, are losing members, are losing popularity on ground, and that's the case of some people.
No, we're not losing popularity. That's the perceived. That's the way it's being perceived. But because we're in time, we are in there. We are at the aims of affair. We are at the heart of the party. We know what is going on. We are getting more ground. Of course, there are a lot of big wings that have come into the party that don't even want us to make noise about it, because they understand that the person at the hands of affair right now, the president, is somebody that is very brutal and can go any length to ensure he messes up anybody that try to step on his toe. So because of that, most of those big wings that have joined the party, they don't want us to make noise about it. But when it's time for them to strike, for us to remove Tinubu from power, we'll make it very obvious that, look, these big wings, they're already with PDP. So it's not an issue of losing the election. Of course, Edo will be retrieved. Ondo is still in court. We're hoping anything can happen in Ondo because they're praying for court. Osun, we're going to win Osun, of course. Ekiti. Everybody know that Ekiti is APC as of today, but the governor is the worst governor that Ekiti have ever produced. And Ekiti people, they are regretting having that governor in Ekiti. So they are crying that the era of PDP is what they need back to Ekiti. We are hoping Ekiti will come to the fold. Of course, Anambra is a 50-50 for us. I wouldn't want to just say 100 for us. 50-50, anything can go in Anambra. So all this cycle election, we are optimistic that we're going to use them to climb and gain more weight, going into 2027. But even at that, 2027 is going to be between Nigerians and APC. It's not even going to be about PDP, because Nigerians are going to queue behind PDP to ensure that 2027 mandate is being retrieved from this criminal that have stolen it and have sat on top of our common patrimony. So we're going to do everything possible to ensure that Nigerians stood by us, behind us, to ensure that this mandate is being reclaimed and being retrieved for Nigerians back. Because it's about the people this time around, not about a few individuals. That is what we're not going to let happen. Individuals cannot have their way over the majority. So we're going to do everything possible to ensure that we galvanize Nigeria across board, across region, across tribe, to ensure that mandate is being given to them because the mandate belongs to them. So 2027 is a goal for us. The popularity is reviving back. We're doing everything possible to ensure that all the little crises we're having here and there, we get them resolved. The congresses will make sure we get them. For the first time in Anambra State, we're able to do a very good congress. The remaining congress, we're going to ensure we do all the off-cycle elections. We'll do everything possible to ensure that we put them in the back. Those are plus to us too. Contribute to humanity. Ensure that we put the interest of Nigerians first. Speak on their behalf. Become an effective opposition. These are the lineup of programs that we have ahead of time leading to 2027. So we are prepared.
Okay, Mr. Andrew. To a large extent, most people have attributed some of the crises and the challenges facing the party to that of the fault of President Bola Tinubu. We've seen some chieftains say that if President Bola Tinubu wants to resolve the crisis, he should, take Wike off his ministerial position and return him back. But do you think that President Bola Tinubu, to an extent, is responsible for the crisis?
To an extent, he cannot be responsible for it. The people are feeling that because Wike is working, Wike is not even the only. Of course, I'm not too much a fan of Wike like that, but I not to just state the fact. Wike is not the first opposition person that will be working for a ruling party. You remember when Obasanjo first won the election? Remember the Obasanjo era, 2003. Obasanjo brought in people from SDP, people from ANPP then. You remember very well. People from AD. He put all of them in his cabinet. And they were all members of his cabinet, and they contributed their quota to the development of Nigeria. We want a situation whereby it's just because President Bola Tinubu have not really managed political administration well in terms of aligning administrative in terms of allowing political parties to be independent on their own without interference. You know, I know because of the show he put forth as a governor while he was in Lagos, at that past, there's this perception about him that every other political party must die when Tinubu is in power, which he did in Lagos. He never allowed that political party to see the light of the day. I know that's the perception that people already have about him, that he wants to do it in national. But you have to understand that this is a national, this is not Lagos State. If Tinubu have his way in Lagos State to ensure that he kill every other political party for APC to remain in Lagos State, he cannot do it in Abuja. Nigeria is bigger than Tinubu. We have to understand that. They wanted to try it in NUROT where they tried to install NC Oluomo, but the thing backfired on the guy. They told him this is not Lagos, this is national. It's beyond him. Some people sat down to drive the constitution of this country. Some people have this craft of the graft of this country. So if the elders of this country say, Tinubu, your time is up, if the guy will go. You have to understand that fact. So Tinubu cannot even put crisis in PDP. He can only try his best. People have done worse than this, but they didn't succeed. So we're not surprised at the effort perception of what people are saying about him that is fueling crisis in PDP. Tinubu cannot even fuel crisis in PDP. He's too smart to do that. He's the president of the country, but he's too smart to fuel crisis in PDP because PDP is bigger than him. A lot of people have tried their best, so they didn't succeed. So Tinubu is just, he's a normal thing. We are used to all this crisis, even bigger than
APC. That's saying that they have attributed a lot of concern on the economic hardship, mismanagement of resources to your party. And now that you are also projecting your party to be a kind of a perfect party in respect to, solving Nigeria's problem, there are those that are having a concern that if the shared responsibility of the mismanagement of this country resources have been attributed to your party, do you still feel that your party still have, a say in respect to, what to offer to the country?
APC have been at the corridor power in the last 10 years now, going to 10 years. So are you telling me a child that you gave birth to since APC assumed the presidency? By now, that child should be preparing to get married.
For 10 years, a child of 10 years should be married?
Okay, let's say it's not prepared to get married, but a child of 10 years should assume a role of responsibility to some extent in terms of house chores and the rest of them. A child of 10 years should be in secondary school by now and is in his full senses. So if Tinubu APC have been ruling this country for 10 years and the country is going back, retrogressing, then it's time for us to sit back and go back to the drawing board and say, if we give you an opportunity to rule this country for 10 years, which you have been a corridor power for 10 years, and if Tinubu exhausts his 4 years, that will be making 12 years. 12 good years of APC being in corridor power have taken our country 50 years backward. That should call for concern. That should call for immediate deep thinking. Because I am scared for the future generation. If I am now, I'm already crying at this level I am. As I talk to you right now, take 1 million naira to the market, it looks as if you misplaced the money. That is the stage that Tinubu APC have brought us to. In the last 10 years, the damage APC have done to this country is worse than the damage that have done to the country in the last 50 years. Even if PDP come back to the corridor of power, we will need to start all over again to see how we can revamp the country, to see how we can retrieve the lost glory, to see how we can retract the country back to its rightful position. Because right now, they've missed it. Look at what is happening in Edo State. The governor without a direction just assumed a corridor, stole a mandate, the selected governor is there within 1 week, brought a
until you prove that in the court. INEC had confirmed the winner of that election until you prove at the court. We disagree with you, Andrew.
INEC said that they know they made mistake in Edo State. So they are confirming it just to fulfill all constitutional rights. That doesn't mean that the guy is actually the authentic mandate. Look at what he's doing in Edo State. He's messing up the state, destroying institutions, scattering everywhere because he felt education is a scam. And look at it showing already. He's disgracing the state up and down. And that's what happened during President Buhari. We installed President Buhari there. He said education was a scam, destroyed all our institutions. Our hard-earned democracy become a shambles, become a laughing stock in the international community. This is not the kind of country we all dream of.
So, some of the problems, Andrew, some of the problems have been attributed to your party. That those that also feel that if we want to go back to the cases of Edo, that it looks that they have argued that the Governor Obaseki also destroyed some of the institutions that was built by the previous administration, and that's why this other party is saying we are trying to put back the situation.
Obaseki destroy institution because even the previous administration, they are not even enlightened. They are not Oshiomhole level of exposure, educational exposure, you can't compare to that of Obaseki. Obaseki is an investment banker. Obaseki revitalized the institutional democracy in Edo State. Obaseki strengthened the institution. See, governance is not rhetoric. Governance is not flashpoint where you just bring caterpillar, you do road, you put flower everywhere, you paint gutter. That's not governance, and that's the kind of mindset that they created in our people. Governance is beyond painting gutter, painting road, putting street light, and putting Christmas light everywhere. It's beyond that, and they feel that's what the people want to see, and that's what they are doing to deceive the people. The enlightened one understand that governance is about strengthening institution. Governance is about taking a state from a civil service practices to an industrial state. That's what governance is all about. Governance is about building a future of a state in a progressive manner. But these guys, they are not interested in that. All they're interested is in rhetoric. So look at the way institutions that have been set up. This guy just came, within 1 week, borrowing money up and down, doing things without following due processes. Of course, I don't blame him. He only has 6 months at the corridor of power in Edo State to spend. So I believe that's why he's trying to do everything.
Go to get to the Tolanda, but let's get to the issues that we are staring on. Obasanjo is arguing that it looks that the government or the federal government, the APC are projecting state capturing. That those that can cast their mind back to when PDP was ruling this country. Your party had almost all the state within the folds of PDP. If they said state capturing is for APC, how would you also describe what your party did years back when they were in power?
PDP, if you recall, when PDP got into opposition in 2015, we struggled to beat up with them because we're not even used to their kind of politics. Their kind of politics is grab it all. Their kind of politics is ruled by force, is ruled by iron, is ruled by thunder, is ruled by fire. That's the kind of politics APC governance, APC practice. PDP was used to democratic principle of political practices. So that's why we're struggling to do. But now we've adjusted because we're going to take over power back. During PDP era from 1999 to 2000.
No party says it's stronger than your party. So how would you be able to contest that with APC?
We are not; those ones are not to be taken serious. 2027 will determine. Labour Party is just a shadow that came and go. It's a normal wave, so we are not.
So you are not afraid of the number that is supporting Peter Obi or the obedient movement?
He gave them wings. 90% of the people in Labour Party, they are from PDP. They are the angry people of PDP. Now they are back to the folks again. We gave them wings. Labour Party only rode on the wings of the wave of the political movement. They don't have anything. We are not worried. They are not even relevant. They are not in the question of things. So they should not be in the conversation when serious political parties are discussing. The two major political parties that should be discussing the question of things should be PDP and APC. A lot of members of your party are going to join PDP, right? And they have crisis now, so they don't understand what politics is all about. So that's why they are passing through what they are passing. So we are not worried about them. They are not even an issue. PDP was in power 2007, 2012. We practice effective democracy. People enjoy what we call democracy, and state voted for us. We didn't even capture state. But look at what APC is doing, destroying institutions. We build a effective institution, but they are not building institutions. They are destroying institutions because they don't believe in institutions.
How are they destroying the institution?
Because look at INEC. INEC is used as an instrument to steal people's mandate. Look at the police that should protect people. They are being used as a state parasite to destroy, to malign the people, to oppress the people, to frustrate the people.
Is it because of party fair election? If you had won the election, the institution would have been right?
It was well practiced in those states. The police, they were agents with an INEC to ensure that the people's wheat were stolen. So what are we talking about? These are state actors. These are state institutions, and they are being used to destroy the people's will. People are losing interest on this institution day after day. The EFCC, they are an agent to fight a perceived opposition. So how do you say that? The judiciary is not being strengthened. If you don't have money, you cannot buy your way. Now, if you want to if you want to fight for a position in Nigeria today, make sure you keep money for court. After winning the mandate, use the other money to buy your way through the judiciary.
All right, Andrew. All right. In respect to, before we wrap up on the leadership crisis of your party, there are those that are concerned about other organs of your party, looking at the Governors Forum. The Governors Forum also seems to be divided as well in respect to projecting what they advise and their role in terms of stabilizing your party crisis. How would you assess, the responsibility of the Governors Forum?
I'm on my way we have the Governors Forum this weekend. You are meeting this weekend, and as I talk to you right now, the last time we had the Governors Forum about launch, and all of them were there. The governors were there. They speak in one voice. There's another Governors Forum meeting again this weekend, and they're going to speak in one voice. So the PDP governors, they are united. They are formidable. They are strong. They are speaking on behalf of the PDP. They have the interest of the PDP. As the PDP gave them a wings to ride on, and they are interested in ensuring that more governors join their folks. Any state that is contesting under PDP, the Governors Forum put us together to ensure that they support the person. They did it in Edo, they did it in Ondo, they're going to do it in Osun, they're going to do it in Ekiti, and they will do it in Anambra till 2027. So the Governor Forum is one of the strongest forum I think we ever have. PDP government is even stronger than APC's Governor Forum because they stole at the idea. PDP is the first political party that actually had a Governors Forum. After we now created PDP Governors Forum. So when APC came into power, they decided to steal our own structure, our own idea, start practicing it. So PDP Governors Forum, led by Bala Mohammed, they always speak one voice. Of course, they are all equal, but they decide to pick one. They don't like the Senate. All Senate, that's why you see Senate President will say, my distinguished colleague, because they are all colleagues. And one is just privileged to be their leader. Same thing goes to Governors Forum. They are all, any of them can be a Governor Forum chairman. One of them will be privileged to be their leader. So he doesn't impose decisions on them. They sit together and make a decision. Then he just champion it as a cause. So these people, they are formidable. They want to see how they can fight to get more governors into the PDP organ, into the PDP structure, so that at least we can be able to win 2027 effectively and efficiently well.
Very big thank you to Andrew Enoche, member of the People's Democratic Party. We do hope we always have this quarter convention confirming some of the leadership crises in your party and the development so far in creating peace and reconciliation. Thanks so much for sparing some of your morning hours with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I mean, that was a politician speaking. So his opinions and some of these allegations are personal known to him and not that of Global TV, in respect to some of the concerns and allegations he has raised. But it looks that, the party's crisis is still deepening, and that's the reason why they are pointing fingers to left, right, and centers to try to resolving all of this concern. There are those that are also projecting that the PDP crisis may not in any way get to be resolved soon because of the two factions, that of Atiku, that of Wike. When two elephants are fighting, is the grassroots that get to suffer. So the PDP, ordinary PDP members are the one, really feeling the heat of the crisis and the fight between the former Vice President Atiku and that of the former Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, which is still looks at is lingering the crisis of the party. But that's the first discussion on today's program. Let's get to go on a break, and once we return from the break, we'll be taking on another issues to discuss. To stay with us on the program, we'll be right back.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the G20 has appealed and rallied support from world leaders amid the economic challenges faced by Nigeria and African countries. Let me bring you the soundbite from what the president said at the G20 summit in Brazil.
I am from Nigeria. It's better to give you the true picture of what's going on in Africa. We have terrorism challenges, insecurity challenges that are preventing farmers to even go to their farm. We have problem in Sudan, displacing people. We have problem of climate change, flooding, destroying crops. And we have problem of protectionism. We have problems. It is very important to make it clear and louder here. We have problem of out of school children. We have problem of funding free education or giving our children 1 meal a day in a classroom to even make them pay attention to school. Africa has that problem.
That was the remarks of President Bola Tinubu appealing to the world leaders that if they are neglecting Africa and Nigeria, it will become a danger, to humanity. And that was really the concern that the president raised at the G20 in Brazil in respect to protecting and prioritizing Nigeria's interests and that of Africa. When you look at, education, when you look at poor funding in education, when you look at infrastructural development, it was raising concern of school feeding programs, for children and in the schools. It was raising concern about the debts we are having, from the international community. It was raising concern. So many other factors, really, that is Nigeria's problem. Those that really have a concern. How about corruption? How about tackling, insecurity? What should begin to be the responsibility of government before seeking for the support, of the outside community? How would you really feel about that?
Yeah, I particularly think that what we need is help, support, partnership in tackling and combating security challenges that we're currently facing as a nation. That's one thing I expect that, and like I always say, that it is focal. It's what is focal. Security is very paramount to every other thing you want to do. Because if you don't tackle the issue of security, every other thing you're trying to do, work on development, projects, infrastructure, would be a total waste of time and effort if the issue of insecurity is not nipped in the bud. So what we need right now is to, quite frankly, all of the other concerns that the president raised at the G20 summit are very valid. Don't get me wrong. They're very, they're salient, actually. But our focal here now is security, because time and time again we've had vandals, trackway, railway vandals, power vandals, transformer vandals, theft here and there, and all of that. Corruption, quite frankly, also, and insecurity, the issue of insecurity. So I think that should be paramount, and that should be top of the list, because that is what has greatly bewildered us and is affecting virtually everything, business to lives and properties of citizens as well.
Well, what do I do to get power to industrialize my country? That was part of what the president said at the summit. Looking at, it projected the population of Nigeria to be over 250 million people. And he calling to him that we need power, to sustain, in respect of our economy, boosting many of the challenges we've been having. He also raised concern about the small-scale industry, that the cost of funding is quite very expensive, and that there's a need to industrialize our economy, and that the world should come together to assist developing nations. He was really particular about Africa. We've always known that Nigeria has always been protecting the interests of Africa in a bit of international relations and development. So it was really projecting that aspect, that for the need for all of this to be addressed, there's a need for funding, for industrialization, and there's a need to also have access to energy, so as to really have to encourage, productivity and production in the country. Those were the really a concern and emotional remarks of the president at the G20 summit, which many have described. I've really applauded the president for that. But a question about paying attention to, closing all of the loopholes in the country in respect to corruption, in respect to mismanagement of the resources. When we have all of this help, when we have all of this load, are we channeling it to the right source? Are we utilizing proper utilizations of some of these assistance, the aids and the help? These are where many have continued to raise concern towards government. That is one thing to access this fund, and there's another thing to really have a proper management of the resources. We can't really exhaust that concern, because it looks that the president was really picturing the future of Nigeria and the reality of Nigerians at the G20 summit. That's where we'll begin to wrap it up on the show this morning. Of course, we'll be coming on the subsequent bulletins. We'll be having some of the developed stories coming in on our program. On the wall of sports, we'll be having sport decks, and of course coming in on the program very shortly by 10 a.m. And of course, we're bringing you the highlights in the world of sport. And I'm already having all of the news lineup of the programs today here at Global TV. You'll have to stay very close to your TV today, because there are a whole lot of stocks and news for you to catch up, and some of the developments in the country. We'll be bringing that up to you. My name is Edikan Michael, and it was a pleasure having you join us this morning.
And I'm Queen Agaba. Have a beautiful day ahead. See you tomorrow.
From flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a